My name is Aron Belka. I was born in Salt Lake City. I grew up in Salt Lake City and moved to New Orleans in 2004. I'd never been to the South before, so I'd never had experience with hurricanes. The recent solo show that I had at LeMieux Galleries, the title of that show was called Working the Wetlands. It became more of a focus on the fishing industry of southern Louisiana. Again, because of impacts from hurricanes, but also in the span of me living here. There was the BP oil spill, so there were other things that had occurred that had caused more impacts. I spent 9 months traveling around, exploring. I went out to New Orleans East, Delcambre, Louisiana out in the west, and was mainly looking to interact with the community and develop ideas for portraits of individuals who were tied to the industry. I had actually made some contacts with some shrimpers, interacted with them, and learned a lot about not only their livelihood, but their whole sort of family heritage in the shrimping or fishing industry, but also to seek out ideas for landscapes of shrimp boats and marsh birds and things having to do with the landscapes of southern Louisiana. That helped me to develop the paintings that were in that recent show. There was one landscape that particularly caught my eye. It was of the painting Retired in Venice. I was in Venice, Louisiana, and it was this very old, obviously non-functioning retired shrimp boat that was tied to the dock. It's moments like these where I'm traveling around and looking for scenes that have a lot of character, that catch my eye, and this was one of those. When I first moved here, I was only painting abstract ideas. So the abstract ideas have sort of followed through in my current work. Usually when I start a painting, I start out with these very loose, sort of gestural, abstract backdrops that I then build upon. I use a lot of varieties of sizes of brushes. I also use a lot of palette knives, and there's ink brayers. Basically different tools to create a diversity of marks with laying down the paint. So I usually start out with these very sort of gestural, spontaneous, abstract backdrops, and then I build upon that when I'm painting the actual subject. And usually the layers start out very thin, and I build the paint thicker and thicker as I'm painting the subject on top. And as I do that, as the process goes on, there's a dialogue with the painting as far as areas that get left where you can see those abstract elements shining through, which creates some depth in the painting. And just depending on the painting, some paintings, those areas get covered up more, and in others, there's a lot more of those abstract elements shining through. So my wife is a field epidemiologist. She does research in Sierra Leone. She spent 9 months in Sierra Leone during the height of the Ebola outbreak. During that time, I did a large portrait of her, just sort of as a reaction to what she was doing at the time. And that portrait won the Bombay Sapphire Artisan Series. I've done several portraits of Sierra Leoneans who have been affected by the Ebola outbreak. One of my favorite paintings that I've done is titled Puppies. And Puppies, his name is Mohammed Sow. Mohammed Sow has worked with my wife in Sierra Leone for the last 10 years. It's a very powerful portrait. He's looking straight at you and engaged with you, and that's definitely one of my favorite pieces that I've done. So I recently started a residency at the Joan Mitchell Center here in New Orleans. I've done a self-portrait since I've been here, which is the first self-portrait that I've done in the last 10 years. And I am planning on perhaps going back to doing maybe an abstract body of work while I'm here, and sort of exploring those ideas again.